but you have to bring in football players. Did you clue them in on what is happening here? Or we're going to beat the crap out of each other and throw each other out?
Well, it was pretty interesting. That day we were in Chicago, WrestleMania 2. And Bill Fralick, who played for the Bears, Ed Fralick or Bill Fralick, one of them, he got kind of cocky with the Sheik, and the Sheik just made him holler, just stretched him. I mean, Fralick's a big guy, offensive lineman, and was supposed to be a state champion and really good amateur wrestler, and Sheik just made him, kiss his own butt, tied him up in a knot, and it was wild. And they had total respect. The Refrigerator, I mean, all the guys, even a guy that I played football with at Louisville, Otis Wilson, came. He wasn't in the Battle Royal, but he came to watch, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, they really turned into like big time fans after that. You really didn't have to quite smarten them up. I don't know exactly. A few of them knew more than the other ones did, I think. But it was a shoot getting out of there. Just like, oh gosh, I think they did that for a rib. But it was
I know. I love WrestleMania 2. It's in 3 different locations, and to me, that's what a feat in 1986. In today's world, it seems a little daunting to pull off. I can't imagine in 1986 the technology. But then a year later, 93,000 people, WrestleMania 3. There you are in a pretty big-time match, too. So what's the day like heading into that? Because that's 93,000 people in one place. And obviously you have to get to the arena early, or you might get caught in traffic.
Oh, yeah, it's amazing. It was amazing. I went up to the press area, and before the show started, and I was watching them put the ring together, just talking. Lots of people are coming up, and you've got press conferences, you've got all kinds of things going on. So I went up to the press room, and I looked down, and I said, wow, why would somebody even want to be here? I mean, I know the ring crew, and I can't tell who's who. That's how far it looked. You're just way up in the air, and in the Pontiac Silverdome, and we're in the middle of, the 50-yard line of the field. And, I thought that to myself. But I tell you what, Steve, I realized why they were there when that modified golf cart took us out in a pair of modified underwear, and the electricity was so thick you could cut it with a knife, and it was like just an aura that I have no way of putting it into words. It was just unbelievably fantastic. I mean, my hairs were goosebumps, hair standing on end. It was just amazing to have, that many people cheering for you, and at least 80% of them were. You certainly couldn't hear any boos, and it was amazing. And to know that there's a ton more. Your cable television, you got videos coming out, all kinds of things that most people don't sit back and realize. People that have been in WrestleManias have been seen by more people than probably guys that played 10 years in the NFL, with the exception of some of your superstars and the Super Bowls. But it's just it's an amazing thing, and I thank every one of the fans for being there, and hopefully they enjoyed our careers.
Oh, man, I absolutely love the Killer Bees, especially because of the masks. When you're introducing the masks to your team, suddenly you can swap places. And I'll be honest, like, obviously you have other mask teams that probably maybe tried to pull this off, but not in the main TV program like the Killer Bees. Like you mentioned, cable television, syndicated, pay-per-views, closed circuit. You're involved with all that. So the innovation of switching masks, it seems like it's an easy idea now, but then it feels like so innovative. Who came up with this idea for you?
Well, Actually, we were doing promos in Canada, up in Toronto, and a guy named Billy Red Lyons. Him and his brother were a tag team at one time, and they were like a heel tag team. And he said to us, you guys is about the same size, like my brother and I know you're baby faces, but if you let the heels get enough heat on you, and you had mass, like Killer Bee mass, he said, you switch. Explained how we'd switch, and I thought, wow, that is a great idea, Billy. I really, really appreciate that. And Jimmy liked it, and we rolled with it. We did it to the Hart Foundation and Saturday night's main event. We had one of the highest rated segments of all time in that Saturday night main event segments that year. And, the people just totally popped, and they loved it, because it was like fighting fire with fire. So especially, a lot of the tag teams were bigger than we were. So it was kind of an equalizer.
Right. And speaking of tag teams, though, I remember Survivor Series 1987 and 88. You're involved with it, but it's not like the traditional 5-on-5. It's 5-on-5 tag teams. So that's twice the amount of people in the match and surrounding the ring. How does this come to be? Because if you've ever watched this on Peacock, it's on right now, you see a camera angle, and the bodies are covering both two sides of the ring because of all the people. Like, how do you even construct a match like that?
Well, it's you have to be creative. It's different. It's a little more difficult. A lot more thought process has to go into it, and it was really exciting. It was the perfect time for Jimmy and I to turn heels. We've been promised the belts 3 times. Then I had talked to Pat about turning his heel, Pat Patterson at the time, and him and the guy from the Carolinas, George Scott, who had fired Brunzell before he got there. And I didn't realize Jimmy had actually sued Vince, rightfully so, before we were ever a tag team, and he won. He beat Vince in a lawsuit. So I guess I kind of started out on a bad note there, but they keep saying the chase, the money was in the chase, and at the time, we were in the first Royal Rumble, won the first Survivor Series, won the Jack Tunney tournament, WrestleMania, 2, 3, 4. We at one time we were doing all the overseas tours. We were at the time the hottest tag team on the planet. The Killer Bees were absolutely the hottest tag team on the planet. And, finally, all that good stuff had to come to an end. I don't like being told something and then it doesn't come to fruition. We went to UWF, which was the same with Herb Abrams, and we became the World Heavyweight Tag Team champions there. But and that was an experience too. But for Vince to drag us on like that. I spent 6 years of my career. I actually wrestled for Vince Sr., and I enjoyed single matches as much as tag team matches. And I came to Florida, won the Florida Heavyweight Championship for the second time. And after my run, I had a deal with Vince Sr. to come back and compete for the Intercontinental Championship. And I got a call from Hogan, and one of my best friends, and he said, "Hey, you ever heard of Jumpin' Jim Brunzell?" And I said, "Yeah, I've heard of him, but I don't really know him." He said, "Well, Vince is going to create a tag team division like no other tag team division before. And, you guys are going to be a major part of that if you want to get together with him, if you want to come in." And I said, "Yeah, I'd love to do that." I remember I gave my notice, and Mike was really, really upset, tried to get me to stay for a month. Eddie had killed himself, Eddie Graham, and kind of giving you a little background of how we got there.
Yeah.
And when I had a flat tire on the side of the road, like only maybe 8 days into my 2 weeks notice, and missed Fort Myers, and I was the main event against Ravishing Rick Rude, and according to Mike, there was as many people outside as who were inside, and I've really that's something that I don't think I'll ever get over, missing that shot. I should have never missed that shot. I wish I could take it back. I've never missed another shot, and in my long career, I had a very, very long wrestling career, and never missed a shot unless I had been injured or something and people knew that I couldn't make it, but never missed an actual booking that I was booked in. But becoming the Killer Bees with Jimmy really brought us to some new heights, and with the expansion, it was kind of bittersweet watching Vince, take over the territories. I didn't want anybody to go out of business, but because I had really gotten along with every promoter that I had worked for. I never had to ask for a job. It was always offered to me, and which is a nice thing in this business, especially when there were territories. Guys were really looking for work. You'd go from one territory to the next territory, and New York was a territory. So I wrestled in the New York territory, for a few years before, over 2 years before I went to become the Killer Bees with Jumpin' Jim Brunzell, and gave him 6 hard years of my life. And Jimmy worked for 6 years there too.